Hey guys, welcome to this edition of the Scott's Takes podcast series. I am thrilled to have Elio Imbornone as my special guest. Elio, what is going on, my man?
Nothing. I'm glad to be here. I just got finished taping a video about a long shot prediction in college football that I have, and I just sort of released that today, and I'm excited for football.
So let's get right to that. So obviously you're wearing a Texas A&M swag, a jersey, a hat.
Yes.
Who's your pick to win the college football national championship?
Yeah, so I picked A&M. I did, I do my research just like most gamblers, and I was looking at their schedule, and I noticed that a lot of their big games are home. Bama was home. Their non-conference schedule is pretty weak. Mm-hmm. So, and some of their, I guess, the SEC, everybody's tough. But I just felt like, besides Alabama, the first 5 games are going to be favored. And then they play Alabama at home. So if they're 5-0 at home, maybe, I'm not going to say they're going to beat Bama, but even if they lose to Bama at home, 5-1, I think they go I think they go to 10-1. They think their LSU is on the road the last game. So, I think they could be 10-1. I think they could be that easily.
That is definitely a bold pick, my man. I like. So let's dive into, obviously, Dave Portnoy. He's your best friend. Almost a decade ago, he came in at Tony's Place in West Roxbury, Massachusetts. Yeah. Your own restaurant, family owned for many years.
So, Pizza Challenge continuing. We are at Tony's Pizza in West Roxbury.
Yes.
And gave you a score of 8.5, a pretty generous score. If he would review your play a decade later, would he stand behind that score?
Well, I told him, it was funny because when he came there, he didn't tell me that he was coming. So he came unannounced, which is pretty bad for, friends. So when he came there, I told him, listen, you have 2 options. You can either give me a good score or you're going to put you in the freezer. So there was only 2 ways about it. No, I think because we were one of the first reviews, I think that I think he was a little more generous with the reviews back then. And he probably gave me a bump up because of friends. Our pizza's really good. So I'm not, putting down my pizza at all, but I just think his scale probably now is a little tougher. But I'm not gonna take back the score he gave me for sure.
For sure, that is definitely generous, and definitely saw on Twitter your $6.99 chicken parmesan sub special. That sounds pretty tasty, my man.
I think when I left today around 7, we sold about 170 today. So,
holy, that is actually impressive. So, getting into more of Dave, so I'm. And did my research. Is it true that you met him by chance? You guys got fixed up like a blind date or something way back when?
Well, what happened was I played football for University of Richmond, and one of my roommates was Todd McShay of ESPN. I don't know, he does the draft and stuff like that. So I'm from Westwood, Mass. They're from Swampscott, which is about a half an hour from us. But my good friend Todd McShay always said, hey, listen, I have a guy from home that sort of like you, likes to gamble, So we did the whole thing, the college thing where when you're drunk, you call your friend. He went to Michigan, we went to Richmond. Long short is, I think it was our senior year, we were back home in Boston, and he said, I have a guy like you. I don't know if I should set you guys up. Anyway, I ended up calling Dave. Dave was calling me. We met at a bar at one Saturday morning at 11 a.m. and we bet the board the whole day. And that's so it was a blind date, though we knew each other just through an acquaintance. So that's how we did meet. Yes.
That's awesome. She just bet the whole board that day. Obviously,
the whole board. Yeah, exactly.
That's wild.
And that's what we did for, even before Barstool. That's what, we're your typical gamblers, and that's how we all started.
So going more into your gambling, I obviously know that you're a massive horse racing guy, you're a massive hockey guy, now college football too. How did you start like just like becoming a gambler in general?
Well, I mean, as a kid, I always followed sports, but I was one of those guys who would like to bet even at an early age, and I didn't even bet with like a bookie. I would just bet like just to see how I would do. So even as a young kid, I remember like 11, 12, seeing the lines and like recording my stats going, 6-4, 4-6, whatever. But I would keep track of all different sports. And, I did this for years. And what I came up with is that, one, it was really hard to bet. But two is hockey. I always had, not always, but I usually had a pretty good record. And, as I got older, continued to bet sports. And, it's so hard to win, just like with everybody. But I've had a really good run in hockey. And so I try to continue to do that. Now, my passion is horse racing, but that's the hard. I mean, if you're, I figure you're a horse player. You can go 25 races in a row, no problem, not winning. I mean, it's very easily to do that. It's just, I think with horse racing though, is when you're hot, you got to press because you get that small window where you're just going to, when you've seen the board clear, I feel like that's when you have to take advantage of.
No, you're absolutely right. And sometimes you think you're invincible, then you lose 25 straight races. Been there, done that. I've been going to the horse. I was 16 myself, so I'm well aware.
Which tracks did you go to?
So I went to hometown Cleveland, Ohio. So I went to Thistledown. Now this, but through the years, I've been to Saratoga. I used to go to Gulfstream Park. I went to school in South Florida with producer Mike, who's producing this. We met. Nice. We used to go to Gulfstream. But no, Saratoga is just like the place to be. I mean, I lived in Albany, New York briefly, so I was able to get up there for quite the meet a decade ago. And it was awesome. And I know that you're big there. And really, that kind of leads into my next question, Elio. Like, how do you handicap that winning horse? So those exacta boxes, like, what is your handicap strategy?
So people ask me that, and so as a horse gambler, I do a lot. I can't say it's one specific thing. I probably go buyers. I sort of start with buyers, the buyer speed, but I watch video. I like, I always try to get my mind in the owner's mind, try to get my head into because, a lot of the times if you're playing the smaller tracks, which I don't really do often, you have to pick. Some owners want to run a race or trainer and they're not trying to win, like that's the hardest part. So a lot of these big days, I feel like I've done pretty well, like because they're all trying to win. I feel like that's when you can handicap the best. Sometimes a horse is trying to just, try to go on a certain distance or, try to train up for another race. That's why I find horse racing so hard, is because, the trainer and the owner would say, oh, we had a great run. Yeah, you came in third. It didn't do me any good, but it probably did the horse good. So, that's why I always I play in some of those big contests because on those big days, because I feel like that's the time where there's no other race they're trying to run. That's the one they're trying to win.
Very good point. And that could tell you why that I lost so much money through the years betting those shitty tracks.
I know. Me too.
For sure. And really, I mean, next question's a good one too. And this could be horse racing or any sport. What is your worst bad beat?
Oh, my worst bad beat. Probably yesterday. No, worst bad beat. Well, 2 years ago, I picked the Blues to win the cup. And it was a huge score for me. I picked them at the beginning of the year. It was 33-1. I had I won 99,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a great win. Granted, I had they were playing the Bruins, so it was really hard for me. But you know what I said? If the Bruins win, I'm happy. If the Blues win, I'm really happy. So that was. Then the next year, I got lucky, and I picked unlucky. I picked the Stars to win the cup, and I think I bet 3 or 4. I don't remember the amount, but it was 4 to win 86,000 or something like that, and everybody's telling me to hedge, no hedge. And last year I was like, oh, I didn't hedge. I'm totally fine. And what happened was like game 5, I think it was a 5-game series, and
Yeah.
I could have easily made 30 grand just hedging on the other side, but of course I was greedy, and so I paid the 4,000. That was it.
So that's where your no hedge hat comes
That's where
from.
it originally comes from, the Blues series, but then I got screwed the next year. And then this year I had the hurricane, so I never even got into the hedge or the no hedge. So
that's great. The no hedge, Elio. And really going back to Barstool, Elio, and it looks like it's exciting because your involvement in Barstool since Dave started the sports book seem to be involved. You're tweeting, you're doing more stuff. Like, what is your involvement in Barstool in a nutshell?
Yeah. So what happened was when Dave started back when we were kids, I was sort of involved because he was just starting to get, going, and I was helping him any way I could, but he was doing 99.9% of it.
Sure.
And then so he sort of got away from the sports and more into like the social.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was always come help me, come work with me. But that wasn't my field. Like that, I just wasn't comfortable with that. I just wasn't good. I know my strengths and weaknesses, and that was definitely not one of my strengths. So I just sort of helped him any way I could, but that wasn't. But then once the gambling started coming back, that's when I said, listen, I'm ready. I'm ready to jump in. And that now, of course, with Penn buying them, and, it's just from what it was to what is, it's just funny to think about it. I remember we used to go, he used to have these like sports parties on the NCAA tournament, like back in the day. And I remember the first one, there might've been about 30 kids in here. I remember him being so nervous before all these parties, like, is anybody going to show? But by like the third year, he still was nervous. And then like people started coming, and then, and, by the 100, and then, I always compare like Barstool to like a sports team. Like everybody, like if you're I'm a Red Sox fan. So if you're a Red Sox fan, you're always going to be a Red Sox fan, no matter what, when they suck, when they're good. And I always say Barstool's, you got those type of fans with Barstool. It's like the people that started with them, they're going to love them no matter what. So, and that's, that's different than a lot of companies around. You don't have that type of feeling.
Definitely
not. You grew up with them,
No, I mean, that's great. And like, really, I'm just like curious. I mean, obviously big fan of Barstool, big fan of Portnoy. Like, what's he like off camera? Like, what is he like? Is he just like a normal dude, or is he just
he's normal. Well, I shouldn't say normal. He is, I always said he's a different guy. Different meaning good, but I feel like now he's the same on camera as the same. He's got that personality where it's just different. It's sort of hard to describe, but he's very loyal, and he's ruthless. I mean, for him to be, I remember I have this little horse show that we started, and we do a Saratoga double, and he came on at like one of the first shows, and he whipped it into shape, like without like talking bad about my producer. Like it was just, I mean, but you know what? At the end, after that show, we became better because of the shit that he said.
That's awesome.
But I mean, I still tell him to F off, but no, he's an interesting, he's very successful, hardworking, straightforward. You know where you stand with him.
That's great. So we will definitely plug the Mark and Elio show. Mike will plug that here for us, for Elio. And like really last question, like obviously the future of Barstool, obviously it's been on absolute fire, obviously with the Penn acquisition, with the sports book, with the Arizona Bowl. Like how far can Barstool go to be the elite of the elite in the sports media landscape?
Yeah, I mean, that's where he's shooting for. Like, I feel like a lot of people would be sort of content to where he is now. That's the thing about him. He wants to go and go. I'm like, Dave, like I was with him last week. He's worth hundreds of million, right. Like, but no, he's still got the same hunger as he did when we were early on with Barstool. So he'll go until they say they don't want him anymore. So, and I think Barstool is just starting because of COVID sort of screwed everybody.
Right.
I think they probably thought they'd be in 25 states now. Now I think they're only in maybe like 8 now. but they're going to get in a few more before football. But every state's been so slow getting the gambling in because of COVID. So
right.
It might be a little bit longer until like they're all in.
Right. It's definitely amazing. So guys, definitely check out Elio on Twitter at Elio82. Michael will show you the link. Elio, thank you so much for coming on, my man. Keep up the fantastic work. Best of luck at the Saratoga meet and all your hockey picks. We'll be following you, and we'll definitely talk to you soon. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.